There was a time when playing RPGs on PC felt like you were entering a secret club. No flashy ads, no console wars, just you, your keyboard, and a world that could swallow your entire weekend, or your whole summer. Some of those games stuck with us forever. Today, we're booting up the old hard drive and taking a trip back to that golden era. Here's a list of 12 nostalgic PC RPGs that every old school gamer should remember, or discover for the first time. Let's get ready to feel that pixel magic again. Let's start with a classic that changed everything. Baldur's Gate wasn't just a game, it was an event for RPG fans. Based on Dungeons & Dragons rules, it threw you into the world of Forgotten Realms, filled with magic, betrayal, and epic battles. You could build your party, explore huge areas, and most importantly, make tough choices. This game didn't hold your hand. It let you shape your story, with real consequences, and the writing, still some of the best ever seen in a video game. The combat was deep, and the characters, instantly iconic. It wasn't just about fighting, it was about strategy, exploration, and living inside a massive fantasy world. If you've played it, you know why it's on this list. And if you haven't, you're missing a true RPG masterpiece. Now we're going deep into the dungeon. Diablo isn't just an RPG, it's a legend. This game basically created the entire action RPG genre as we know it. Simple on the surface, but dangerously addictive. You picked your class, descended into the depths below Tristram, and clicked your way through hordes of demons, all while chasing better loot. The dark, creepy atmosphere, absolutely iconic. That soundtrack, haunting, unforgettable. Even today, people remember that terrifying butcher and his line, "Fresh meat." It had this eerie, claustrophobic vibe that no other game has quite matched. And the sense of progression, finding better gear, unlocking new spells, was pure dopamine. And if you grew up playing on PC, you know how many hours Diablo could steal from your life, and how worth it was. Now let's talk about a game that's less about combat, and more about questions like, what can change the nature of a man? Torment was weird, really weird. Set in the bizarre multiverse of Planescape, you played as the Nameless One, an immortal with no memory of his past lives. Your journey? Piecing together who you are through dialogue, exploration, and some of the strangest characters ever written. This game flips every RPG trope on its head. Most of your time isn't spent fighting, but talking. And somehow, it's absolutely gripping. The story digs deep into themes of identity, regret, and philosophy. There are tons of twists, shocking moments, and endings that stick with you. Ask any PC gamer who played this. They'll tell you. Torment isn't just a game, it's an experience. Before Fallout became a massive open-world shooter franchise, it was a gritty, turn-based RPG, and oh boy, it was brutal. Fallout dropped you into a harsh post-apocalyptic wasteland where survival wasn't guaranteed. Everything was about choices. Do you help others or betray them, save a town, or watch it burn? It had dark humor, deep stats, and a world that actually reacted to what you did. People still talk about how savage this game could get. It wasn't afraid to let you fail, permanently. You could lock yourself out of quests, or even wipe out entire towns. The dialogue was sharp, and every decision carried weight. If you've only played the modern Fallout games, you owe it to yourself to see where it all began. Now here's one for the true RPG nerds. Arcanum is one of the strangest and coolest RPGs ever made. Imagine a world where magic and steampunk tech exist side by side. Elves with guns, orcs working in factories, wizards riding trains. That's the kind of weirdness this game delivers. You could create basically any kind of character you wanted. A powerful mage, a tech genius, or something in between. And the world? Massive, reactive, brutal. This game didn't care about being friendly. It was complex, buggy, and totally fascinating. Its deep character creation system could easily overwhelm new players, but once you figured it out, it was like unlocking an entirely new layer of the game. It was raw, ambitious, and packed with choices that actually mattered. If you've never tried it, you're missing out on one of the most unique RPGs ever released. Time to head back to the Forgotten Realms. But this one isn't about deep storylines or massive twists. Icewind Dale is all about one thing: combat. This game is like a dungeon crawling campaign brought to life. You create your entire party from scratch, and then dive straight into icy caves, haunted ruins, and monster-infested dungeons. The combat is tactical, challenging, and insanely satisfying. Plus, the music, absolutely beautiful. If you ever wanted to just gather your party, grab some loot, and smash monsters for hours, Icewind Dale is your game. It's the perfect blend of nostalgia and action. There's also a nice sense of pace. You're always finding stronger enemies and better loot just around the corner. And even though it's combat heavy, there's enough atmosphere and lore to keep you hooked. This is one of those games that still feels great to replay today. This one's rough around the edges, but in the best way possible. Gothic isn't like most RPGs from that era. It doesn't hold your hand. It doesn't explain everything. You get dropped into a brutal prison colony where everyone is out for themselves. And right from the start, you realize that survival isn't easy here. The world of Gothic feels alive. People have routines, factions fight for power, and your actions actually change how they treat you. Combat, clunky, graphics, a bit stiff, but the atmosphere, absolutely unmatched. There's something strangely immersive about its harsh, unforgiving world. The game forces you to earn respect, both from NPCs and the world itself. If you stick with it, you'll discover one of the most addictive RPGs ever made. It's a cult classic for a reason. Ah, Morrowind. For many players, this was the game that changed everything. Before Skyrim, before Oblivion, there was Morrowind, and it was huge. This game didn't just give you freedom, it threw you into a bizarre alien world filled with giant mushrooms, floating cities, and all sorts of weird magic. You could ignore the main story for hundreds of hours, just wandering around, picking up quests, stealing from shops, or even breaking the game with overpowered spells. It was janky, it was buggy, and it was absolutely incredible. Many still say no Elder Scrolls game has matched the atmosphere of Morrowind. The music, the lore, the strange architecture. It all felt like you were truly somewhere else. And best of all, it let you be whoever you wanted. A mage, a thief, a warrior, or even all three at once. If you love freedom in RPGs, this is where it all began. Now let's talk about a game that basically became a toolbox for RPG fans. Neverwinter Nights wasn't just a Dungeons & Dragons game, it let you create entire worlds. Sure, it had a full campaign, with solid story and fun combat, but where this game really shined was in its custom content. Players could build their own adventures, share them online, and even run them like a dungeon master in multiplayer. It became a massive community hub for years. Some people even made entire online worlds that felt like mini MMORPGs. The modding community was insane. Some of the best content came from regular players. The freedom to create your own campaigns led to countless hours of replayability, and even the original story was pretty great on its own. If you ever wanted to live inside a tabletop RPG, this was the closest thing back then. Alright, time to go way back. Ultima 7 isn't just old, it's a legendary. This is one of those games that basically shaped every open world RPG that came after. It gave you total freedom. You could go anywhere, do anything, talk to anyone. The world felt alive, with characters following daily routines, shops that opened and closed, and tons of hidden secrets everywhere. Plus, it had a dark, surprisingly mature story about cults, politics, and morality. And the coolest part? There were zero random encounters or traditional levels. Everything felt like you were really living inside that world. Yes, the controls were a bit awkward. Yes, it's a product of its time, but the amount of depth here, still jaw-dropping. For many old-school RPG fans, this game was their first true taste of what a virtual world could be. If you're curious where modern RPGs got their DNA from, this is a must-see piece of history. Now here's a game that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. Might and Magic 6 is pure, classic dungeon crawling goodness. It mixes first-person exploration with party-based RPG mechanics in a huge open world filled with secrets. One minute, you're wandering through peaceful towns. The next, you're blasting skeletons and dragons with powerful spells. And here's the kicker. You can switch between real-time and turn-based combat whenever you want. The sense of freedom is amazing. Plus, the loot? Addictive. The dungeons? Massive. The challenge? Brutal in the best way. It also had this unique blend of high fantasy and weird sci-fi tech that gave it a bizarre but awesome flavor. And honestly, the world just feels huge. There's always another dungeon, another spell to master, another secret to uncover. If you grew up loving grid-based RPGs, this was like paradise. This one's a hidden gem that deserves way more love from modern players. Let's wrap this up with one of the most underrated RPGs from the early 2000s. Divinity may not have had the best name, but don't let that fool you. This game is awesome. It mixes the exploration and freedom of Diablo with the deep story and world building of a classic CRPG. You can fight, loot, cast spells, and basically interact with everything in the world. The sense of humor? Spot on. It's one of those games where you go in expecting something simple and suddenly realize you've been playing for hours completely hooked. The game's world is massive, filled with hidden quests, secret dungeons, and characters that don't take themselves too seriously. And it's also surprisingly flexible. You can solve problems in multiple ways, with brute force, magic, or even clever dialogue. This is where the now famous Divinity series began, and it's still worth playing today. And honestly, it might just surprise you with how much charm it still has. 12 nostalgic PC RPGs that shaped the genre, and probably shaped a lot of our childhoods too. Some were big back then, others were hidden gems, but all of them totally unforgettable. Maybe it's time to dust off your old PC, Or fire up your favorite emulator and relive some of these classics. Trust me, they still hit just as hard today.